Earlier this week, Ari Emanuel spoke at this Bloomberg conference, and he spoke about the rights increase for SmackDown, and also about the TKO stock. And he noted the fact that it was several factors that he believes have contributed to this. And he mentioned the fact that there's plenty of interest in Raw right now, and thinks it's among like the big rights that are out there. But he said that there's three things that happened that have affected the stock. He said that they thought that he feels the investment community thinks that Raw was the best package, and even though he feels the 40% increase was in line with expectations. Number two, he cited the PFL situation, which was the Saudi Arabian group that has invested in the PFL, which scared Wall Street that Saudi Arabia was just going to pump in all this money into the PFL. And this week, UFC announcing their own deal with Saudi Arabia that surprised some. And number three, the number three reason our stock could be down, Vince McMahon. He said that he's 78 years old. He's been working at this for decades, and he wanted to be able to put at any point his stock, which I don't quite understand. I didn't hear the interview, so I didn't hear it in context there. But looking at those reasons for affecting the stock, which was down almost 3% again today. So this TKO stock, it's not rebounding, and maybe once the Raw deal comes out, there will be more expectation once they have a sense of what that deal is going to bring them. But I mean, Brandon Thurston, he's very high on the idea of Raw rights not coming around until this NBA deal is sorted, because that's going to handcuff so many of these networks in terms of their like what money they're earmarking for the NBA, which is going to take great precedence over Raw and what they have left, and where these networks are going to be, ones that are left out in the cold without NBA. Well, they have a lot of budget left, and maybe Raw can benefit from that.
Yeah. First, shout out to Andrew Thompson, who was responsible for, I think, spreading this to a lot of wrestling spheres. I saw a lot of people using his transcription. So Andrew Thompson is, again, the GOAT when it comes to finding.
In the middle of the night tracking this down as well.
Yeah. So shout out Andrew for this. I saw a lot of people obviously focus on the Vince portion of this quote, and I don't, because even you, John, might have trouble maybe interpreting something like this. I definitely feel like a lot of people might have also misinterpreted. I mean, a lot of the headlines we ended up seeing coming out of this was Vince McMahon, Ari Emanuel blames Vince McMahon for, a TKO stock going down, something to that effect. I've tried to understand maybe like what he's meaning here, and I don't know if we should necessarily look at it as like him being derogatory, or at least like insulting Vince. Like, how did you sense it? Because the way
I'd really want to hear it, because like, again, reading this, it's like it's kind of like a jumbled sentence here that I wouldn't be able to like leap to a conclusion on like what he meant by this. I mean, it's clear like something in Vince's deal regarding his stock he sees as a liability to the stock, but I don't think at the same time Ari Emanuel would be so brazen as to just put his number two under the bus in a situation like this in a very public setting. So I'm with you.
So this, along with reports that are out there that like I saw people write like what Triple H has been knighted, like, or at least like whatever that means, like put in charge of creative, are letting a lot of people basically infer that like Vince is being ousted from the company and all
which is not the case. I mean, yeah, I did ask one person like in the company this week just about like the Vince like creative situation, and was just told that this is from one person that he's backed off creative entirely around 3 weeks ago or so, and added, "We'll see if it lasts," which seems to be the sentiment of it seems like the hands are off the wheel when it comes to creative, and that Paul Levesque is steering things. But again, that like Vince McMahon is the number two person in TKO. And if he has such a desire to insert himself, well, he is going to outrank everybody on the WWE side of things. And
right. Yeah.
So that would be
at least one other interpretation I've seen of this is that he could be saying that because Vince is getting older and because he has the ability to basically leave the company at any point, he could be saying that is what might be negatively affecting the stock. The fact that he could be gone. And stockholders, traditionally, at least we've known, have really relied on the stability of having a Vince McMahon around in order to have confidence in the company. So in that sense, it might actually be, I don't know, a compliment to Vince. Again, I have not heard the quote either. So we will, and I'm sure the fine folks at WrestleNomics Radio will this weekend be talking about this as well.
He was also asked about his changing opinion on working with Saudi Arabia. And he said that I didn't want them, referring to Saudi Arabia at the time. We weren't public in our investors stack, okay? I said it on many podcasts about my feelings about the situation. I didn't say we would never be doing business in Saudi. I just didn't want them in the financial stack of our investors. We distribute their Now Soccer League through IMG. Because of WWE, we're in business with them for at least 5 years, 2 events a year. Great. They just bought an event from us for the UFC. Great price. We're doing the event. It'll be an unbelievable card. So I just, at the time, didn't feel comfortable for many reasons, which has been stated. But we're in business with them now. So that's simple. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's that simple. Sure.
We turned back $400 million. Now we're in business with them. It's just that simple.
I can't begin to comprehend like what somebody in the position of an Ari Emanuel has to, I guess, navigate with I think his position. I believe for him it was probably, despite maybe the amount of money that he was giving away, from a PR perspective, probably beneficial to him to deny that money at that time. But now, I mean, it's relatively not, I guess, a hot button issue. I think the audience, for kind of sadly has just kind of accepted that like major companies are going to be working with Saudi Arabia as part of our entertainment. And beyond that, he purchased the WWE, who can't get out of this deal. So once those shackles are off, well, what else are you really protecting about your public image? So, I mean, it's business, like it's sad to say.
It feels like a defeatist attitude to look at, but I mean, there's like this level of running a business and a publicly traded one. It really leaves no avenue for ethical decisions that are going to trump profitability, and that Ari Emanuel would be doing a disservice to his company if millions of dollars are being offered from Saudi Arabia, and the only thing that is holding you from profiting off of that is a moral judgment. And you can look at it any way you want. I still look at the fact that in all of that, there was a lot of people that were very much aghast at what happened to Jamal Khashoggi. He did something at that time that I think very, very few people in that position would do. So that doesn't disqualify that for me. I'm not by any means saying Ari Emanuel is a saint by any stretch, but the fact is he did something and has talked about the fact like he feared for his life after that. So it's not as though he just did something that had, just business ramifications. It had personal ones too for him. And if you're in this situation, if you're going to be making those moral judgments, you're not going to be someone that's going to be wanted in these positions. That like, this is just where things go. And it's sometimes I wish there would be sometimes more of a value attached to moral efficacy, but that's not the reality we live in. And that's kind of like just burying your head in the sand.
Especially, again, sad to say, especially for the audience that consumes the products that he's in charge of.
Yeah, like Wei, if you saw the reactions this week and compare it to other than some media people, like it was like a nothing case of like the UFC going to Saudi Arabia. Like there was not some kind of like moral panic about going to Saudi Arabia or what it signals. It is much more embedded, I feel, by this point, and it truly is in wrestling as well. I think like there are more in pro wrestling, but that's also us being in a bit of a bubble too.
I mean, soccer, World Cup, in Qatar.
Like this is only getting more aggressive, and like this is where everything is going towards. So it's more and more of your sports, your entertainment, that you are sometimes not going to be comfortable where that money is coming from. But that is, a major force if you are consuming combat sports, if you're consuming F1, if you're consuming soccer,
Beyonce or whoever, whatever,
anywhere,
concert has taken that money to perform. Sure. Yes.